And so we meet again. Let's take a long inhale and long exhale together. And fully drop. Drop so the mind does not present resistances to our investigation. For today, I would love to suggest this question that I was asked. Why do I say that self-soothing delays our awakening? The addiction to self-soothing. Well, first of all, what do I call awakening? We can have so many different definitions to something and then talk about it. Perceive different subject for the conversation. So what we will call awakening is purely realization of our true nature. That's it. We are not going to discuss presence of the ego in daily life or any of that. Just purely realization of true self through direct experience. Not through theories, theoretic insights, but through direct experience. Experiencing and realizing the true nature that has no definition of a person, that which comes prior to appearance, mental appearance of a person. Person that has a name, a role in the society, a personality, character, belief systems, mental structures, tendencies, reactions, so on and so on. Why do we seek to realize our true nature? Basically, it's very simple. We all strive to find happiness through unity, sense of home beyond this tangible, very often heavy world. We want to avoid suffering, we want to end our suffering, and to end the suffering in the world that our mind creates. Is not an easy task. Yet, when we are awakened to our true nature, the suffering automatically falls away. There will be nobody left to suffer. There is nobody to suffer any longer. So we seek. And if we seek, we find. If we do so diligently and committed to find it. And there is nothing to find, it's to realize that which has always been here and now. True nature, that we always are that, only it's been hiding from us. So why self-soothing prevents us from self-knowledge? On that eternal level, knowledge of the self as pure consciousness. We'll see when you are in pain, where I am in pain. Our addiction is such that we attempt to escape it as soon as possible. And there is so many different strategies that we apply to do so. We find distractions, food, internet, texting, sex, substances, anything that takes us away from feeling pain, emotional pain, physical pain. When we do so, we believe, we do it from belief that there is a person who experiences emotional suffering and that it's real, and so we try to get rid of it and distract ourselves. When we do so, we avoid looking into that can be revealed through suffering, through looking deeply into our suffering. If instead of running away, we sit still and just look into it, just endure, commit to not getting up, not running away, but to keep looking till we find the answer to why am I suffering. And why does not reside in the content. It's not, oh, I'm suffering because of this or that external circumstances or a person. It's not, I'm suffering because I just broke up with John, or I'm suffering because I lost my job. All those are just events that point to different content of life. Life is just happening, it takes form of events, people, places, circumstances. None of it are causes for suffering. Even the most challenging circumstances are not the causes of suffering. It's our perceptions, our reaction to them, that are causes of suffering. But fundamental cause is not even that. It's our subject-object relationship with our perceptions. So we separate ourselves from that which we perceive. Yet, if the perceiver and the perceived is all folded into the consciousness from which it all arises, the suffering collapses, the cause of suffering collapses. So if we sit quietly, it doesn't have to be sitting, you can walk and look into that, but for the sake of conversation, we sit. Still, quiet, and just feeling in every cell of your body, in your bones, we feel that pain for a moment. We endure. We don't escape. We don't run away. We don't indulge in distractions. We just feel it deeply for a moment. We merge with the pain. We don't separate from it, we merge with that. And then, inevitably, we ask ourselves, but why do I suffer so much? And don't allow external circumstances to be presented as a cause. Instead, go further back and let's ask ourselves, who is suffering in the first place? Who is that who is suffering this thought? Because it's the thought that causes emotion, and then next thought intensifies the emotion. And so there is suffering when we start resisting all those emotions. So perpetual suffering. Negative emotions, resistance to negative emotions, resistance to resistance of negative emotions. And so we're going in the loops, and it doesn't stop for a long time. So we look at who is suffering. Who is that who is suffering? And don't be satisfied with your name, with seeing the image of you. Break it down. Who is that? And then you will find that it's a thought of you that suffers another thought of some event. You will not find you suffering. You will find a thought of you is suffering a thought of suffering. Try it right now. Feel something that hurt you recently, and just try it and see. You will not find the suffering in you if you look deeply and take a step back and then peel off all layers like onion. Peel it off till you stop finding the next layer. On that level, you will not find the suffering in you. Find that which is looking at the suffering in you, and then that which is looking at that which is looking, layer by layer, go back. So as soon as you indulge in distractions, you soothe your pain. You're out of self-investigation process. And you're back into being that person that suffers because of that circumstances or that event or that person, conflict, whatever it is, perceived to be the cause. But instead, stay with it. If I stay with my pain, I can't escape the need of investigating this pain to end it. If I don't look for something else to soothe me, to reduce my pain, to take it away, the only way I can do it is through self-investigation. And that's how I develop deeper self-knowledge. Not knowledge that I'm given by my parents, my teachers, my environment, all my ideas about myself that I accumulated over the years. Not that self-knowledge. Not knowledge about you, about me. But knowledge of who you are, your very essence, that which never hurts in the first place, because it has no attribute and capacity to hurt. It's pure awareness, pure consciousness, that which is self-aware and has no characteristics. It has no name, no personality, no faculty to experience anything. It's just aware. The only thing it can do is to be aware. This is what it is, awareness. Consciousness that is conscious of itself, and all forms that arise in the consciousness. Because all we are is consciousness. We can't find anything else, no matter how hard we look, if we look very deeply. Everything else is experienced through our senses. We can't find objective reality. The only way we find it is through the senses that are to perceived from the place of pure consciousness that give us the experience of separate self. So pain is a great invitation to self-inquiry, self-investigation. And our impulse, our addiction to distract ourselves from it, is a pointer to come back to the process of self-study. Because the fact that we try to avoid the pain points to the fact that we don't know ourselves, therefore we suffer. And as soon as we find that which we are originally, unpolluted self, pain vanishes. It just vanishes. There was pain a moment ago, and now it disappeared, because that person who suffered disappeared. And what is found is that which is prior to appearance of the person, to believe in the personhood. So if you self-soothe your discomfort with any entertainment, social interactions, studying of some material, some information, food, anything that takes your attention away from the self and from the pain or discomfort you're experiencing, that's your conscious decision. Stop knowing yourself, not meeting yourself. If I meet an object of my attention, I can't meet myself at the same moment. My attention is divided. I'm divided. My mind is divided. I'm not united. I'm not one. I am many impressions of the world, not that which gives the impressions life, which is pure consciousness. And as soon as I taste that, I wake up from my pain. And maybe I don't wake up forever. Maybe I need to do it again and again and again, till I fully embrace that transition from believing that I'm a person to knowing that I'm not. And then the process of self-realization becomes continuous process of reminding ourselves who we are not. And at first it's just reminders, constant reminders. I wake up, I fall asleep. Wake up and fall asleep again. And then suddenly we find ourselves awake more and more and sleep less and less. And suddenly we can snap out of any pain very fast. We just need to come back to that memory of our true self, of our true nature. Just remind ourselves who we are not. Just see who we are not in the moment of suffering, of discomfort, of emotional turbulence. Let's take inhale and exhale together. Just release all thoughts, all attempts to understand it cognitively by the mind that wants to comprehend things. Let's drop that mind. It's not through that mind that we derive to self-knowledge on the level that we are investigating here. It's when the mind is not. If at the moment I'm experiencing anything other than expansiveness, well-being, sense of harmony, balance, and even those are just words, but just try to feel through it. So it's just very subtle feeling of okayness. If I'm feeling anything other than that, I'm most probably identified with that is described me as a person. I am just a thought of Olga. But I am not that which I always am, always have been, always will be. Pure awareness of that which contains Olga and everything else that Olga can perceive and cannot perceive. It's all beyond perception of Olga, really. Let's drop the mind. The mind that attempts to grasp it and understand through workings of the mind. Suffering hardly can be broken down in comprehensible pieces. It can only be transcended, not consciously understood, but transcended. If I experience movement away from suffering, away from discomfort, towards objects, and objects is anything I can perceive separate from me. People, places, circumstances, activities, thoughts. We very often get lost in thoughts as escape from feeling discomfort. So thoughts become objects too. So anything we perceive to be separate from us, that are within the reach, as it seems. So we reach out. We reach out to use it as an escape from discomfort. If we do that, we take ourselves further from ending our suffering, because we self-soothe to avoid seeing it through. we are taking ourselves out. We're going out. But it's not out. There is no within, no without. Nothing is out there. Nothing can be resolved out there. It's by stepping back, pulling ourselves back, pulling attention away from objects, and merging subject and object into one, that is awareness. That is the foundation of all existence. We often reach out to people to self-soothe. We seek connection. We seek resolution through communication. And sometimes it feels better. Another person convinces us to look at things differently. But we simply change our perception and perspective. And we temporarily resolve the conflict that emerged in the mind. But it's very temporary solution. It's a just patch. Because the cause of the suffering is not particular circumstances that needed to be resolved. It's just not knowing who we are. And that which we are not keeps creating various circumstances that we perceive to be causes of our discomfort and often emotional pain, suffering. Some people feel difficulty to find that very last layer that needs to be peeled off in order to meet ourselves in this pure consciousness. You might think that you need years of practice to be able to do that, but it's not true. You can do it right now with me. Just peel off everything that you are not. Every single thought of you is not you. Every single thought that you have about yourself is your barrier to the self. Anything you can describe yourself is not you. It's just your idea about who you are. And if you notice, these ideas change all the time. Not only with time as age, but just every moment. Just notice, every single moment there is some different emotion caused by different thought, caused by different definition. Sometimes you feel great about yourself, but bad about another person. Sometimes you feel comparing and you're not feeling good about yourself. Sometimes you feel that about yourself and that about yourself. It's always changing, constantly changing. Your perception of yourself, of other objects, all changes all the time. Every single thought is a new thought. None of it is you. So self-improvement leads you nowhere. It will lead you nowhere. You can improve yourself forever, but all you're improving is your perception of yourself, your thoughts about yourself, your beliefs, mental constructs about yourself. You change definition of yourself. But that who you are, that which you are, is unchangeable. It's prior to any definition, prior to any identification prior to any thoughts about you. So self-improvement does not release you from suffering. There is nothing to improve. There is only to experience the self. But for that, all the distractions of self-improvement, including another distraction from self-knowledge. So all distractions, they need to stop. We need to turn back onto ourselves, to drop all distortions, to let them break down and fall away. And in the transcendence, the I amness is revealed. The beingness is felt. Let it go. Let everything go, every single definition let go. And one might say, but I keep perceiving. As soon as I had a glimpse of who I am, the mind came back and I keep perceiving. Yes, it will be happening. But then we always can remember. And we anchor in that understanding, in that memory, in that realization. We anchor in it. So we always can remember. And in comparison, see who we are not. In comparison with that pure place, pure space, pure beingness, pure consciousness. In comparison with that, it's so easy to see that I'm notness. I'm not. Because all the definitions of ourselves, it's this I'm not that. Or I'm that too, but then it's not only that which we define ourselves as. It's everything else. Nothing is excluded then. Nothing is excluded. But then it becomes this everythingness. It's not emptiness, it's everythingness. And then again, if it's everything, it has no attributes. Because it's everything. Nothing is excluded. Nothing is excluded. Then again, there is no suffering. Either through ultimate inclusion or ultimate exclusion, whichever way we go, we arrive to the same. Pure potentiality, pure consciousness, from which all appearances arise. All prior to our self-perception, that it becomes a seed for experiencing emotions, resistances to emotions. The positive ones, the pleasant ones, we define as our preferences, preferred emotions. And then the rest is in the category of unwanted emotions, painful emotions, uncomfortable emotions. It's okay to experience all of them. But as soon as suffering kicks in, instead of reaching out for objects to soothe the pain, just go back again. Go back. Who am I? Not. And that's so easy to see. Who am I not? Oh, I'm not this person who thinks about herself, himself, this and that. And go back to remember who we truly are. And we are all the same consciousness from which all individual minds, self-perceiving minds arise. We can give it so many names: consciousness, awareness, big mind, universal mind, God even, divine, eternity, nirvana, spirit, so many different names. So hopefully, whatever created turbulence within you and wanted to be dismissed through some activities or distractions of any kind, hopefully this moment transcended it all for you. And if not, maybe more time is needed for self-investigation. But I hope you relaxed your nervous system enough to do so in the next few moments after we say goodbye for today. I'm wishing you well and sending you love. I will see you next time. Much love.